Oh, hey, y'all! It's Granny May. I'm going to be reading The Westing Game today. Chapter 1, Sunset Towers. The sun sets in the west. Just about everyone knows that. But Sunset Towers faced east. Strange. Sunset Towers faced east and had no towers. This glittery, glassy apartment house stood alone on the Lake Michigan shore 5 stories high. 5 empty stories high. Then, one day, it happened to be the 4th of July. A most uncommon-looking delivery boy rode around town, slipping letters under the doors of chosen tenants-to-be. The letters were signed, Barney Northrop. The delivery boy was 62 years old, and there was no such person as Barney Northrop. Dear Lucky One, here it is, the apartment you've always dreamed of, at a rent you can afford in the newest, most luxurious building on Lake Michigan. Sunset Towers, picture windows in every room, uniformed doorman, maid service, central air conditioning, high-speed elevator, exclusive neighborhood near excellent schools, etc., etc. You have to see it to believe it, but these unbelievable, elegant apartments will be shown by appointment only. So hurry, there are only a few left. Call me now at 276-7474 for this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Your servant, Barney Northrop. P.S. I am also renting ideal space for doctor's office in lobby, coffee shop with entrance from parking lot, and high-class restaurant on entire top floor. 6 letters were delivered, just 6. 6 appointments were made, and one by one, family by family, talk, Barney Northrop led the tours around and about Sunset Towers. Take a look at all that glass. One-way glass, Barney Northrop said. You can see out and nobody can see in. Looking up, the Wexlers, the first appointment of the day, were blinded by the blast of morning sun that flashed off the face of the building. See those chandeliers? Crystal, Barney Northrop said, slicking his black mustache and straightening his hand-painted tie on the lobby's mirror wall. How about this carpeting? 3 inches thick. Gorgeous, Mrs. Wexler replied, clutching her husband's arm as her high heels wobbled in the deep plush pile. She, too, managed an approving glance in the mirror before the elevator door opened. You are really in luck, Barney Northrop said. There's only 1 apartment left, but you'll love it. It was meant for you. He flung open the door to 3D. Now, is that breathtaking, or is that breathtaking? Mrs. Wexler gasped. It was breathtaking, all right. 2 walls of the living room were floor-to-ceiling glass. Following Barney Northrop's lead, she oohed and awed her joyous way through the entire apartment. Her trailing husband was less enthusiastic. What's this, a bedroom or a closet? Jake Wexler asked, peering into the last room. Well, it's a bedroom, of course, his wife replied. It looks like a closet. Oh, Jake, this apartment is perfect for us. Just perfect. Grace Wexler argued in a whining coo. The 3rd bedroom was a trifle small, but it would do just fine for Turtle. And think of what it means having your office in the lobby, Jake. No more driving to and from work. No more mowing the lawn or shoveling snow. Let me remind you, Barney Northrop said, the rent here is cheaper than your old house costs in upkeep. How would he know that? Jake wondered. Grace stood before the front window where beyond the road, beyond the trees, Lake Michigan lay calm and glistening. A lake view. Just wait until those so-called friends of hers with their classy houses see this place. The furniture would have to be reupholstered. No, she'd buy new furniture, beige velvet. And she'd have stationery made blue with decal edge, her name and fancy address in swirling type above the top. Grace Windsor Wexler, Sunset Towers on the lake shore. Not every tenant-to-be was quite as overjoyed as Grace Windsor Wexler. Arriving in the late afternoon, Seidel Pulaski looked up and saw only the dim, warped reflections of treetops and drifting clouds in the glass face of Sunset Towers. You're really in luck, Barney Northrop said for the 6th and last time. There's only one apartment left, but you'll love it. It's meant for you. He flung open the door to a 1-bedroom apartment in the rear. Now, is this breathtaking or is this breathtaking? Not especially, Seidel Pulaski replied, as she blinked into the rays of the summer sun setting behind the parking lot. She had waited all these years for a place of her own, and here it was. In an elegant building where rich people lived, but she wanted a lake view. The front apartments are taken, Barney Northrop said. Besides, the rent's too steep for a secretary's salary. Believe me, you get the same luxuries here at a third of the price. At least the view from the side window was pleasant. Are you sure nobody can see in? Seidel Pulaski asked. Absolutely, Barney Northrop said, following her suspicious stare to the mansion on the north cliff. That's just the old Westinghouse up there. It hasn't been lived in for 15 years. Well, I'll have to think it over. I have 20 people begging for this apartment, Barney Northrop said, lying through his buck teeth. Take it or leave it. I'll take it. Whatever else he was, Barney Northrop was a good salesman. And one day he had rented all the Sunset Towers to the people whose names were already printed on the mailboxes in the alcove off the lobby. Office, Dr. Wexler. Lobby, Theodoricus Coffee Shop. 2C, F. Baumbach. 2D, Theodoricus. 3C, Siddle Pulaski. 3D, Wexler. 4C, Who. 4D, J.J. Ford. 5, Shinhu's Restaurant. Who were these people, these specially selected tenants? They were mothers and fathers and children. A dressmaker, a secretary, an inventor, a doctor, a judge, and oh yes, one was a bookie, one was a burglar, one was a bomber, and one was a mistake. Barney Northrop had rented one of the apartments to the wrong person. Chapter 2, Ghosts or Worse. On September 1st, the chosen ones and the mistake moved in. A wire fence had been erected along the north side of the building. On it, a sign warned, "No trespassing, property of the Westing estate." The newly paved driveway curved sharply and doubled back on itself rather than breach the county line. Sunset Towers stood at the far edge of town. On September 2nd, Shinhu's Restaurant, specializing in authentic Chinese cuisine, held its grand opening. Only 3 people came. It was indeed an exclusive neighborhood, too exclusive for Mr. Hu. However, the less expensive coffee shop that opened on the parking lot was kept busy serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner to tenants ordering up, and to workers from nearby Westingtown. Sunset Towers was a quiet, well-run building, and, except for the grumbling Mr. Hu, the people who lived there seemed content. Neighbor greeted neighbor with "good morning," or "good evening," and a friendly smile, and grappled with small problems behind closed doors. The big problems were yet to come. Now it was the end of October. A cold, raw wind whipped dead leaves about the ankles of the 4 people grouped in the Sunset Towers driveway, but not one of them shivered. Not yet. The stocky, broad-shouldered man in the doorman's uniform, standing with feet spread, fists on hips, was Sandy McSuthers. The 2 slim, trim high school seniors, shielding their eyes against the stinging chill, were Theo Theodoricus and Doug Hu. The small, wiry man pointing to the house on the hill was Otis Amber, the 62-year-old delivery boy. They faced north, gaping like statues cast in the moment of discovery, until Turtle Wexler, her kite tail of a braid flying behind her, raced her bicycle into the driveway. Look! Look! There's smoke! There's smoke coming from the chimney of the Westinghouse! The others had seen it. What did she think they were looking at anyway? Turtle leaned on the handlebars, panting for breath. Sunset Towers was near excellent schools, as Barney Northrop had promised, but the junior high was 4 miles away. Do you think old man Westing's up there? Nah, Otis Amber, the old delivery boy, answered. Nobody's seen him for years. He's supposed to be living on a private island in the South Seas, he is. But most folks say he's dead. Long gone dead. They say his corpse is still up there in that big old house, and they say his body is sprawled out on a fancy oriental rug, and his flesh is rotting off those mean bones, and maggots are creeping in his eye sockets and crawling out of his nose holes. The delivery boy added a high-pitched hee-hee-hee-hee to the gruesome details. Now someone shivered. It was Turtle. The track star began to jog in place. Horrible! It was horrible! Otis Amber said with a shudder that sent the loose straps of his leather aviator's helmet swinging about his long, thin face. Come to think of it, it happened exactly 1 year ago tonight, on Halloween. What happened? Theodorus asked impatiently. He was late for work in the coffee shop. Tell him, Otis, Sandy urged. The delivery boy stroked the gray stubble on his pointed chin. Seems it all started with a bet. Somebody bet them $1 they could stay in that spooky house for 5 minutes. 1 measly buck. The poor kids hardly got through those French doors on this side of the Westinghouse when they came tearing out like they were being chased by a ghost. Chased by a ghost, or worse. Or worse, Turtle forgot her throbbing toothache. Theodorus and Doug, who, older and more worldly wise, exchanged winks, but stayed to hear the rest of the story. One fella ran out crazy-like, screaming his head off. He never stopped screaming until he hit the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. The other fella hasn't said 2 words since. Something about purple. Sandy helped him out. Purple waves. Otis Amber nodded sadly. Yep, that poor fella just sits in the state asylum saying, purple waves, over and over again, and his scared eyes keep him staring at his hands. You see, when he came running out of the Westinghouse, his hands were dripping with warm red blood. Now all 3 shivered. Poor kid, the doorman said. All that pain and suffering for $1 bet. Make it $2 for every minute I stay in there, and you're on, Turtle said. Someone was spying on the group in the driveway. From the front window of apartment 2D, 15-year-old Chris Theodorus watched his brother Theo shake hands. It must be a bet. With the skinny, one pigtailed girl, and rush into the lobby. The family coffee shop would be busy now. His brother should have been working the counter half an hour ago. Chris checked the wall clock. 2 more hours before Theo would bring up his dinner, and then he would tell him about the limper. Earlier that afternoon, Chris had followed the flight of a purple martin, progning subis, above the field of brambles, through the oaks, up to the red maple on the hill. The bird flew off, but something else caught his eye. Someone, he could not tell if the person was a man or a woman, came out of the shadows on the lawn, unlocked the French doors, and disappeared into the Westinghouse. Someone with a limp. Minutes later, smoke began to rise from the chimney. Once again, Chris turned towards the side window and scanned the house on the cliff. The French doors were closed. Heavy drapes hung full against the 17 windows he had counted so many times. They didn't need drapes on the special glass windows here in Sunset Towers. He could see out, but nobody could see in. Then why did he sometimes feel that someone was watching him? Who could be watching him? God? If God was watching him, then why was he like this? The binoculars fell to the boy's lap. His head jerked. His body coiled, lashed by violent spasms. Relax. Theo will come soon. Relax. Soon the geese will be flying south in a V, Canada goose. Bronta canadensis. Relax, relax, and watch the wind tangle the smoke and blow it towards Westingtown.